Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. Welcome, everybody, to the Orange Hammer Podcast. Happy to have Candace Ellis in the house today as my guest. Candace, how are you doing today?
I am well. What is good, Corbett?
What's going on? I feel like out of nowhere we're seeing a lot of each other, and it's awesome.
Yes. I'm definitely honored being here, and this is my first podcast.
I'm honored that I'm your first podcast. The slightest bit of background for the listeners, we linked up at a BNI in, I believe it was South Durham chapter, or maybe it was North Durham chapter. I can't really remember. Mm-hmm. And you were actually substituting for Trayvon. Mm-hmm. But also there giving your own spiel because you have a lot of fingers and a lot of things going on. And I don't know, we just exchanged cards and had a good vibe, which led to a coffee, which led to a good vibe, which led to scheduling this. And then some flexibility in rearranging this and actually going just now to the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce vendor fair, which is pretty fun. And some free lunch.
Belly is full.
Networking events with free food, that is the way to go.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's kind of, networking's fun. It's pretty cool. And here we are now doing a podcast.
Like you said, everything fast forward from the BNI and then connecting and normally when you connect and network with folks, they're like, oh, yeah, let's do coffee, but then you don't hear from them. So just knowing that you was adamant and very on it, like your consistency and the communication was on point. So I was like, oh, yeah, let me see, networking new to the area. So, definitely appreciate that.
I mean, for you, it was, especially new to the area, get to try a new spot. For me, I'm going to the same coffee shop over and over because it's the only place with sugar-free chai. But that's my thing. But it's really. And the funny thing is like all this vibing and even passing to different people for business, and we don't even have business with each other yet. But to say that it could never happen would be silly, and to close. Absolutely. To close off a portion of potential networking because it doesn't have an immediate financial value defeats the entire purpose. Because like you passed me on to a different social media person that even though you do a little social media work, and then you also, if memory serves, run a cleaning business, which I'm like, well, I have tenants move out of rentals all the time. I just don't have one this week, but
right.
we got to clean, why not? Or, a really messy job that needs to be cleaned before we turn the bathroom back over to the client, whatever. And then the third thing that you do is infused dinner parties, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's break down all three. Let's start with the social media aspect, which I know is kind of not even really the correct word, because you do a lot more than just like running someone's social media. You're kind of like a brand development, some business coaching, right? You were talking about?
Correct. Building their reputation.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Ellis Strategies is an entity of three different, businesses: reputation management, mind, body, and cannabis, and then K&A cleaning services.
Okay.
So yeah. And with the reputation management, I really target more of small businesses where just building their reputation, whether if it's digital marketing or if they have a brick and mortar, just doing marketing within their space and see how to improve, bring their clientele or their revenue. So just strategizing with the client just to bring in, building their reputation of their business, and then just bringing revenue. So helping my portfolio and also helping them build their business as well. So
for me, I kind of, in my own head, for my own vernacular, I kind of separate the words reputation and marketing. And if I understand, it seems like those are synonyms for what you're talking about.
Well, more for me, it's like reputation and management.
Okay.
So the marketing piece is more of digital marketing if they needed my service to run their social media. So right now I have 2 clients that I do create content for their social media. And then also now I'll be helping out one of my clients with the web development as well. So just running her website.
What were you doing with them beforehand that was under the classification of the reputation service?
That is a great question. They came on immediately, as in just starting out having one-to-one conversations, pretty much of networking, just understanding what I do with my business, how I can help them build their reputation. So it's just having those conversations, understanding what their business was, what is it that it was needing, what it was lacking. And my first client, Anissa Spot, it's a smoothie spot here in Durham. And it was more of the social media engagement was there, but it was more of bringing in different perspective to the space, having more maybe events or different ideas that will come into her shop now that will bring people. So we celebrated her 2-year anniversary back in August. So we was able to like transition the shop, have some games and things of that nature, do giveaways and stuff. So it bringing me in was more of just bringing new, fresh ideas for her business. So yeah.
Okay. And so what kind of, well, I got a couple questions. So what made you want to do that for people?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, me and social media always have like this love and hate relationship, I would say, but just building myself coming out as an entrepreneur, just trying to figure out what that looks like, not having as much resources. So now being able to tap in with many other folks around me that's entrepreneurs. I just love helping people, for one. I enjoy just being a supporter of folks, whether if it's in the front scene, behind the scene, and just helping them thrive. Seeing the work that I do behind the scenes of my skills and being able to just have them conquer their goals and what they want to do with their business, definitely is just like, it brings, a warm feeling for me because, for instance, I have my sorority sister. Shout out to Lady Bees. We met in California, and when she presented this idea that she was starting her business, and she bakes, and I never met somebody who was like a professional chef that does, baking. So I was her dishwasher. I was collecting money when she was doing pop-ups. I was serving the people. I was creating the flyers, helping her. So it was just like being able to also help someone. And I was like, well, maybe, what do I call this? Is this PR work? Is this, back in when I was in school, it was basically public relations, like PR. So now it's called digital marketing. So I was like, okay, how can I continue to help but also still have a brand for myself and create it for my business? So reputation management came about as I was researching and figuring out what would make sense for Ellis strategies. So now, she's doing big things on Food Network, and just knowing to see where she started from, and I was able to be her thought partner, and just in the background scenes helping her build her business and where she's at now and thriving. So
that leads perfectly to my next question, because you mentioned honing those skills at that time. Did you have any other either critical jobs that you had to help develop those skills, or formal training? Did you go to school for marketing? Did you go to school for like a business degree? Like what's I guess, for lack of a better word, what are your like credentials for somebody trusting their small business with you?
Right. Yes. So my shout out HBCU, Virginia State University. I got my bachelor's degree in mass communication with a minor of public relations, and then I got my master's from Strayer University, public administration. I would say I take bits and pieces of each of those degrees of the skills that I learned. But I would say it was more so doing lots of direct service work and community volunteer work. And then I started to develop my skills by project management. I got my certification in that. And then working with a nonprofit, I started to build like my public speaking. I started to learn, more on the public, the project management side of learning like Microsoft and Google Docs and things. So just educating myself on that and utilizing the resources and platforms that was in front of me. I just started to, teach myself and also take advantage of those trainings. And that's how I continue to develop my skills.
So you have a incredible education background and also learned by doing. So truly the perfect Venn diagram of overlap of where you're in the middle of pulling from all the available ways and resources.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. So before we move on to one of the other Ellis strategies, branches, what's like your goal clientele? I know you already said small businesses, but there's 1.5 million small businesses. What's like an ideal client for you?
I would definitely say ideal client was working with small Black-owned women businesses, since I know, for me, I never really experienced living in a time where so many Black-owned businesses and seeing women Black-owned businesses. So just being able to be a part of, like, again, their goals, their development, and their movement of what they're doing, that has been like my target goal. And the 2 new clients that I have, they are Black women that's thriving in their own, sector of what they do with the smoothie business. And then also the new client I brought on, 365 mentoring and coaching. She's a Black-owned woman who definitely serves on the NCAA side of just doing lots of sports coaching with students, and education is key always for me. So anything that has something to do with doing community outreach and education, I'm always willing to tap in.
That's awesome. I don't know about the Black half of Black women-owned businesses, but I know that women-owned businesses get a nice tax break from the government.
That's something to learn.
Yeah, because
I've heard something of that.
Because I know of a company where it's like it just happened to be 3 men and a woman. The 4 of them started a company, but they very much on purpose, like, she owns 1% more than everybody else so that she could be the owner for tax purposes.
Wow.
And so it's like, basically they're all 25%, but it's like 24.5, 24.5, 24.5. And like, she's got 25.7 or whatever the hell the math comes out to. And so just so they could get that tax break.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Learn
that's pretty
something
cool.
new every day.
Yeah. Taxes
So,
are,
yeah.
you can't sleep on taxes in this country because they will get you.
I'm
Man.
telling you.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it's something new that you learn, especially being a 1099er too.
yeah.
So I'm
I mean,
learning all the entities of it.
I tell people what I'm about to say is both a joke, but also very much a reality that like I went to 4 years of college and got a business degree to swing a hammer for a living. But
That's real.
that's real. But then the joke side is like 4 years of business school taught me hire a freaking accountant. Do not do your own taxes. Get a
Right.
very, very skilled professional ass accountant. Pay them what they are worth and have them just do it for you. Like just don't you don't want to be screwing around with the IRS because I feel like that's the one chain of United States government law enforcement that will just not stop. They are like the Terminator. They'll just keep coming.
Not.
Didn't they take down was it Al Capone? Like one of those incredible gangsters in history got all of the like bank
all
robberies.
His taxes from all the way back in the 70s or something. Yeah, I'm
ridiculous.
just like, man. Yeah, so and it's a learning tool for me as well because I'm not there with my revenue, but when I get there, definitely I plan on having someone to do my taxes and everything when it comes to this.
Well, the revenue will come. I think that it sounds like, this is very much something to make money, but this is also some real passion. You want to do things in the community. You yourself are a black woman. You like focusing on a black woman business. I mean, there's a direct correlation there, obviously, but also like that's close to home with you, and supporting businesses that you might even like to go to or support.
Absolutely.
Like, maybe you like the smoothies of that smoothie person. I don't know. I haven't tried them.
And I got on the acai bowls.
There
delicious.
You go. Okay. I hear those are yummy. I haven't really had one, but I hear they are very good and like rather healthy for you. So I think, especially like for me, I do the construction thing that I do for passion first, and the profit comes. But same with this podcast. Like as of yesterday, I have sponsors, and we're gonna get
congratulations.
Thank you. We're gonna get things recorded, and in a couple episodes they'll be on the end. And this podcast became profitable as of yesterday. But that was never even a thought of like, how do I start a podcast to make money? No. I was like, this is something I want to do. It's fun, whatever. So I think you're going the right direction, and it will come. Moving to another branch. I guess I should ask. Anything else we should say about the reputation management side?
No, I mean, Ellis Strategies, follow me at Ellis Strategies 2020.
There we go.
On Instagram, if you know someone, small business. They say, black owned, but for sure, woman owned. I'm always, woman empowerment, but definitely open to all, any business that someone needs their digital content creation or just needs someone to just strategize with some business plans and new ideas.
And it should also be mentioned that if you're not the right person, you have no issue giving us to the right person.
I definitely don't.
Exactly what you did to me.
Like they say, your network is your net worth.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. And that's an admirable thing rather than just trying to figure out something that might not be your expertise.
Absolutely.
So moving over to the cleaning business, what was it, K&A?
K&A Cleaning Services.
K&A. So who's K and who's A?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it started wanting to create generational wealth. So my brother, he has 2 kids, and my sister, she has 2 as well, a boy and a girl. So I was like, his son is named Kingston. And then my sister, she has 2 kids. They both have A's, Ashton and Anaya. And then my brother's youngest daughter, she's her name is Analia. So I'm like, 3 A's and a K. All right, K&A Cleaning Services. There we go. Boop. So in honor of my nieces and nephew, this is something we're creating that generational wealth. And then whether if they want to get into this business and not as they get old, at least there's something there that is within their name, and whether if they want to go to college, whatever they want to do when they get older, there's some assets in, creating this for them, as well as my brother and my sister, they can step in so I can just be on a yacht, just chilling.
On a yacht. Ooh, okay.
And K&A Cleaning Services doing its thing still.
Do I get an invite to this yacht?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Because you're going to bring the guacamole.
There you go. I was like, she's going to want the guac. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
So as far as cleaning services you provide, just residential, just interior or exterior, commercial? Will you go in at nights and clean an office building? Like, what are you doing?
I'm glad you asked. So it started out when I was just growing up, always cleaning. And so since my mom, she started out having like family, their houses as clients and stuff. So I was like, So as I started to build on my own, and moving here to North Carolina, my first client, it's in a studio. So right now I just have a client, my only one client. It's a studio, but I do have certain private folks that say, hey, you need to come. Can you clear this out, declutter my basement or my garage, and then I'll do that. So, and then I'll still put the proceeds, of my what I make going towards K&A Cleaning Services. But yeah, I'm open to doing, retail, not retail, businesses and homes. So with the homes is very, particular one, going in folks' homes and making sure that we do a run through or whatever it is, that a room that they need clean, and then making sure me and that client just build a rapport first, because I know now in this day and age, you can't just trust any and everybody going in your house. So I know how, important that is for folks as well. But with the commercial spaces, haven't had a client yet on that, but I'm definitely open to that and building on that aspect.
I had a buddy of mine. He used to go in like midnight to 6 a.m. He had to do it in that time frame. It was like it was a bank. Mm-hmm. It would take him like 45 minutes, but he's like, I have the key. I got to do it. And so like, there were definitely times when he was up at 4 and doing it, and there were definitely times when he was like, "I'm doing it at 12:30, and we're hanging out at 1:15 because we're going a late, we're going out or something." So it was. I was just curious.
Yeah, and that's something I'm learning too. That I talk to other people that actually have cleaning businesses, whether if they're hiring through like other companies and bringing in, that extra, hands-on, depending on what the project is of the cleaning. I know a couple of times I was a buddy of mine that was he's on construction projects, and he was in Florida. So it was a few times I was called to Florida, out in Key West, to come and clean out his apartment and also the office space where he was working at. And again, I built the contract and got paid and put it through towards K&A Cleaning Services. So it's just things like that to learn, like what's going to make sense for me, for one, and for two, like you said, having a buddy doing something at 12 to 4 o'clock. For me, I wouldn't want to do that. But as far as if I can hire and have, build my business off that, where if office spaces are needing that type of cleaning, then yeah. So I'm just learning the different aspects of the cleaning business on so many levels right now, whether it's house, commercial space, or Airbnbs, partnering up with them to clean out their spaces. So I'm just learning to see what makes sense for me.
Yeah. The Airbnb is probably an untapped market because they definitely need to be like fully, cleaned and remade and restocked. Mm-hmm. But as far as, at least in my mind, most office parks are going to want you to come in after they close.
Right.
So if it's a standard 9 to 5, like, I don't know, a lawyer's office, they're going to want you in there at 8 o'clock when they've closed to, run the dishwasher and clean the little kitchenette, clean the 2 bathrooms and vacuum and empty that trash that's mostly full of papers.
Exactly.
But, that's probably how that would work out. Okay. What's your contacts for that?
The same.
It's just all Ellis.
Yeah, so on actually through email. So Ellis at ellisstrategies2020@gmail.com.
Okay.
So if anyone needing, some cleaning, whether if it's house or commercial space.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, and then the third and final branch. What did you call it again?
Mind, Body, and Cannabis.
Mind, Body, and Cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're doing private infused dinners.
Correct.
Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So this is fascinating. I spent some time in California.
Nice.
Now marijuana is legal in my home state of New York.
Yep.
Here we are in North Carolina where
Mm-hmm.
it's not legal, but the Delta 8s, Delta 9s, Delta 10s, Delta whatevers, and CBD world.
Yeah.
If you were driving down the street and you didn't know anything, you would think that weed was legal here because there's so many types and things that are essentially weed
Mm-hmm.
or weed that's been diluted enough times where it started off as CBD and they diluted it enough times that it's legal or what. I don't know. I don't understand it. But the idea of doing a more upscale, less about how high you could get,
right,
and more about educating people about how to use it in a more controlled, healthy way, like actually cooking rather
Mm-hmm.
than smoking it, because lungs are more precious.
Very much so.
Yeah. So what's the driving idea behind it? How did this come about?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. I mean, this is something that has been a movement for decades before I was even probably born. And so, just the stigma, marijuana, weed, cannabis, what folks are comfortable in calling it. Just being coming from a Black community and being a Black woman, just seeing so much violence around this particular plant and seeing folks being locked up over it for years, decades. So living in California, knowing that was a state that was legal, it came about getting a knock on my door where there was some weed delivered to me. And so...
What a world!
Who you telling?
Little DoorDash.
Yes.
Here's your
weed
weed
dash.
Little weed dash. Wow.
So I'm just like, wait a minute. So you telling me I can use an app and just get whatever I want?
I could just imagine.
Gummies.
I could just imagine you didn't order it, and he walks up and he's like, "Hey, I forgot. Did you the person order the Domino's or the 8th? I got too many deliveries.
Right.
I'm high on edibles."
Yeah, it's just on all seriousness, it just really, it bothered me in a way, because I was just like, wow, just so easy for someone to create an app and they knock on your door to deliver, this product that has been a stigma against Black and brown communities for over decades. And you have folks that, now fighting the cause of advocacy of trying to get people, out of jail for this plant. And, there's always been a debate about whether if it's a drug or not. And that was something I just recently read too. Like now cannabis is in, what was it? They lowered it as like a tier 2 or something, I believe, drug with heroin. I was like, wait, what? How are they in the same category? But that's something for a whole nother year. So it was just knowing that that it just wasn't sitting with me. So I was like, how can I be a part of this movement? And so just learning more about meditation and tapping into my body and things of stress and things of that nature. So I was just like, never was really a smoker like that. So I tried it for my migraines and stuff. So I was like, you know what? Mind, body, and cannabis. How can I rock with that? So, just having conversations with friends, and then just experimenting with utilizing it and eating it, putting it in, making a salad with it, crunching it up, putting it as a little seasoning, and then it transferred to creating my butters, creating some oils, and now cooking, my shrimp with it or something. So, and it's not like where I want it to be overly high. It's just a relaxing feeling. So as I started to build with it, along with Ellis strategies, I wanted to create an educational piece on it. And so that's why I started to do panels. So it started out with just having these discussions and creating panels where I bring in folks who are way more experts on this, subject matter, just bringing them in and having that conversation, because now you have folks that don't know, whether if they've been smoking weed their whole life or just starting out, there's still a whole lot of there's still a lot of education behind it, and also the breakdowns of this, plant, because now they have the psychedelic, piece to it, where I was just, I'm still learning about that. So yeah, just Mind, Body, and Candace came about, and then I have another friend that she's a chef. Shout out to Chef Ori. We just curated, 2 events, one last year in Virginia. And then I did 2 in Rhode Island, my home state. And it was a blast. It's a 3 to 5 course meal. And each meal is definitely microdose. It's curated in a way to where you're getting an education around the plant, but also just indulging in delicious food and a great cuisine. And it's just a meal that some folks probably never heard of, because my chefs, they are bougie. But also they're providing a meal that's healthy and providing a course that is healthy as well, where you're able to just indulge in great food, but also it's infused to just elevate your mind, your body, and utilizing cannabis that, hopefully folks will start getting away from big pharma and throwing away all their medicine and just go straight to, cannabis and utilizing that. So yeah, that's how Mind, Body, and Cannabis came about.
It's very interesting how cannabis seems to have been around for so long, but because it was blocked from, massive studies. Mm-hmm. Because it was okay, this is not something that we want to ever think about as a medicine. Right. And it's only recently, I want to say maybe in the last 20 years or so, mm-hmm. where it's kind of switched over from, this is not just some plant, this is something that we could turn into medicine.
Absolutely.
The advances in CBD especially, which mm-hmm. For those who don't know, CBD doesn't actually get you what you call high. It's just for pain mm-hmm. or helps with appetite in cancer patients. Yeah. All kinds of uses for people with arthritis. Anxiety. There have been incredible cases of tinctures made and then converted to an aerosol breathable thing to help mm-hmm. with migraines.
Yep.
Yeah. Or seizures. I saw this one documentary of this boy, and I mean, literally they tried everything. And mm-hmm. they were living in a state where at the time there was no medical marijuana. Mm. This was a long time ago. I can't remember the documentary it was a show, I think. And they had to illegally get this CBD thing, but it worked. It was the only thing that would work. Yeah. And they had stopped their 8-year-old, kid from having seizures.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's super amazing. And I don't think anybody who's a, user or a proponent or a fan of cannabis is trying to suggest that big pharma should vanish or that cannabis is the end all only solution.
Right.
But I think it's kind of more of a movement that's less even about cannabis and more about the movement of just maybe there's other solutions than just very expensive pills designed to keep you using pills for eternity.
Exactly.
If you think for just 1 second about how also pharmaceutical companies love money, maybe they don't actually have your best interest at heart. And I'm not trying to throw pharmaceutical companies under the bus, but like,
disclaimer.
yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
for
But
sure.
also at the same time, this is a
Yes,
private
facts.
podcast, and
Right.
it's run by me, and you're my guest.
Right.
And Purdue Pharma sucks. And
Facts.
Oxycontin or Cotton or Cotton or however the hell you say it is
Right.
awful. And there's now 2 shows, one on Hulu, one on Netflix.
Yes, and they're amazing shows.
And they didn't even go to jail. And
Yeah.
all they had to do was like pay a couple $2 billion, which was like pennies for them.
Yep.
And, you know,
Yeah,
we could
and it's
probably
sad.
go on and on about how
Right.
screwed up that is and
Right.
whatever. But, you know, so just to imagine that like, oh, there's a natural plant in the ground that
Right.
doesn't get you addicted and as high as freaking heroin,
Exactly.
but could also maybe alleviate that back pain or
Right.
be turned into a very nice balm or cream or whatever the hell it's
Exactly.
called.
And it's like you mentioned, as far as like what other alternatives out there other than just keep taking, you know, multiple medication. And that was another you know, highlight for me, to having older aunts and folks that on both sides of my family that suffer from many type of, you know, diseases and all this other stuff that they take medicine from. And so for me, I was just like, well, maybe if I create at least a panel to have these discussions and create an education piece, and also incorporate it with my dinners, you know, having someone to come in as an expert to share their expertise about the balance of smoking it, inhaling it, or, well, not inhaling it, but eating it in a way. And it's just like, having that understanding where that stigma doesn't like, oh, the weed stinks and you just want to get high. Like, no, that's not, like, this is a plant that can be on so many different levels, where it can be created, like you said, a balm. It can be a bath bomb, something you can just put in your water and just relax. And it's just so many ways. And, you know, for my Nana, I introduced it to her as a balm, and she puts it on her knees and feet every night before she goes to bed. And she's just like, I wake up feeling amazing. And I'm like, so it's nothing where I want folks to understand that it's like it's I don't know.
No, you're educating.
Evil, yeah, just like it's
you're not a
something
pot
that's
dealer.
So, right.
You're not out there
Exactly.
on the corner
And
like
now I can
trying
tell
to
people
sell.
I'm a legal drug dealer.
Yeah. It's like you're not out there on the corner trying to sell
Right.
like, you know, grams of marijuana.
Exactly.
You're like making, first of all, you're making an incredible event. Let's not
Right.
forget, like, this is not like you got to go find her in some sketchy park behind a Quiznos.
Exactly.
This is like you're renting someplace out and having 10 people who put on nice shirts show up, where there's a waiter and
Right.
a real chef, and like they've pre-bought a ticket. You know,
Yeah.
this is a real thing. And then you also, I think you forgot to mention on the podcast, but told me before, you started with a group meditation.
Yes,
which
yes.
is super cool. You know,
And the feedback from my guests, they love that too. And definitely I appreciate, for me, tapping into that side for myself personally of meditating. And so now bringing it to my events, and having people just balance, and, you know, wherever they're coming from, to spend that 2 hours with, you know, that experience with me. I want to make sure that they're also grounded in doing a meditation. It's just a dope experience, and
it
hopefully
checks so many
yeah.
cool boxes. I mean,
Yeah.
it checks so many cool boxes. You have the education portion. You have something you personally enjoy,
Yep.
something you want to share with somebody. Incredible food checks pretty much everybody's freaking box.
Yeah.
Something new and exciting for, like, I don't know, a date night. You know, depending on the clientele you're bringing, it can be an excuse for a networking event. I mean, you
Yep.
could write that ticket off if you ran a small business. Like, oh, I'm going to a networking event with 17 people at a dinner.
Corbett is going somewhere with this.
Yeah,
Yes.
hell yeah, I'm going somewhere with this. Yeah. You know, and then the panel, I don't know if it's at the same time, if it's also at the dinner, if they're completely separate, but, you know, that's a great thing. Like, it's just, there's just so many cool potentials and boxes checked with one event. And it's not even about using the drug and getting high.
Right.
It's about the educational
Yeah.
aspect. Because you said something around like 10 to 15 milligrams. at the end of a meal.
So generally with the meals, like depending on if it's a 3 to 5 course meal, we microdose it with no more than like 20 milligrams.
Right. So just to educate people who might have no idea what we're talking about,
right.
20 milligrams in edible form is very, very little.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, so somebody who might ingest marijuana daily would
mm-hmm.
need, you know, 50 to 60 milligrams to start feeling something.
Right.
So this would, you know, this is a very, again, it's not, you're gonna feel effects, but this
mm-hmm.
is not like you need to have a cab to take you home and
exactly.
you're gonna be like drunk and woozy and like dangerous. This is
exactly.
a very mild amount,
mm-hmm.
and that should be stressed. It's a very mild amount.
Yep.
You know, you're not trying to make somebody uncomfortably
a
high
definitely
on weed. Like that's you know, especially because a lot of people don't also know that the cannabis or marijuana, whatever you want to call it, the plant, the effects from eating and smoking are very different.
Absolutely.
They're not the same. It's not just like, oh, we're going to eat it because we didn't have a way to smoke it. Like,
right.
It's a very different thing. There's a whole psychoactive
mm-hmm.
part, for lack of a better word, like you don't trip like mushrooms, but you get that same type of chemical that is released.
Right.
And that really helps your body muscles relax
mm-hmm.
more than, say, ingesting it via a smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like a very different experience, even for somebody who might be, you know, a regular cannabis person.
Yeah, and I got feedback from folks who actually smoke and really don't indulge in eating it because of their bad experience that they had of taking the edibles. So, and again, that's why I always open it up with a meditation, and then we transition into just breaking it down from the appetizer to the entree. Like everything doesn't come out at once, besides if we're doing like a brunch and we already put it out there what the dosage is, and you can still eat everything, you know, piece by piece. But generally it's like it'll come out, appetizer, have a conversation, talk about what's in the dish, and then the entree will come out, then the dessert will come out. So within that 2-hour time span, you know, not shoving nothing down your throat. It's just more of a chill vibe, relax. You're getting that education. You're able to network with other folks that's there, and also provide your feedback of how you feel if you are a smoker or if it's your first time indulging. And I had people that was their first time, and they actually looking forward to attending another event because they actually enjoyed eating the food because it was delicious, but also not tasting. And that's another key element too. You have some people that actually,
I know what you're circling, and that is a key thing. Continue.
And you have some people that say, oh yeah, I cook with it, but it's like I don't want a mouthful of weed in my mouth neither. And just tasting it. So, you know, I always make sure the chef that I choose to partnership with my events, that the cuisine that they're presenting is just immaculate, where it's just you're gonna indulge in and want some more and more of it. And that's all I keep getting feedback. So
it's a high class meal. It's not
absolutely
really,
it's nothing where it's just like box macaroni cheese and throw a little sprinkle of weed on it. Like, no, we're not doing that.
Because when you think of, you know, a lot of people think of the movie with Method Man and Red Man where he's like he's mixing the brownies and then he just throws like weed in there. That wouldn't even work. Most people don't know that you have to take the plant and cook it in either oil or butter because you need the fats to suck out the part that is the weed. Then you actually throw the now like removed of all the goodness flour away, and you cook the food with oil. So and then also most people think of you know, when moving away from movies into real world, most people think of edibles as like candy. You know, like brownies and Rice Krispie treats. And the reason is because those are the easiest things to add the most sugar to hide how gross weed tastes. So it's not a secret once you know the reasons behind stuff. So all the more impressive, for lack of a better word, that your chef has been like, yeah, we can throw 20 milligrams through 3 to 5 courses. You won't taste a thing. This could, if I didn't tell you, you would just feel good 2 hours later.
Exactly.
Right. And oh, by the way, it's really delicious. So, you know, for I think you said as, depending on 3 to 5 course meal, you could go as low as $60 a plate, as high as $100 a plate.
Correct.
Like for a 2-hour event with this kind of food, with a private server and a private location with the infusion of cannabis, I see that as a steal.
Yeah, very much so.
I see that as a steal. Plus, oh, by the way, here's some not in your face education.
Right.
And yeah.
And like I said, I'm building, and I want people to come to be able to enjoy themselves and not worry about that they can't afford to come to my event as well. But I know eventually, like, I will have to raise my prices and the quality of the food that I'm providing, the experience that I'm providing. And if people are going to want to, spend their money on Beyonce tickets and everything else, and this is experience they would like to enjoy, then they will spend the money. So I have to tell myself that as an entrepreneur, and just get out of my head as well of, what is my worth? And when am I, bringing forth to the folks? So that's something I'm learning, but eventually I'll get there. But yeah, so just be on the lookout. Follow my page on my next events, and they even get a gift box too.
Hey,
you get a gift box. So I'm giving the people, just giving them the quality stuff, but also I want them to come back, and then they'll continue to keep supporting me. And like you said, it's the passion and the revenue and all that will come. So
yeah, I see value in it. I see the passion right on your face. I think it's a great idea also, kind of getting out of the way of weed's own stigma, which is changing pretty quickly, I feel like.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could drive an hour to Virginia where it's legal. My parents are from New York, where my mom called me one day and was like, it's just here now. And I was like, well, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I lived in California when it was medical. I left, and then it became fully legal. The handful of states goes on.
Absolutely.
I think something 40 plus states have medical, at least. Like it's happening. So it's, we're in the Bible Belt, so it's going to take probably a little bit longer, but at the same time, it could be one of those things where I know, like, Georgia is illegal, but Atlanta has their own rules, and they're like, they decriminalized it. So I would see,
between Atlanta and Texas, and Florida, them some states, they'd be
crazy.
Know.
But I could see something like that happening where, like, with how progressive the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill Triangle area is, I could see them being like, okay, North Carolina doesn't want to make it legal, fine. But we as Durham Sheriff are decriminalizing this, and we don't care anymore because we have real crime, and this is not real crime anymore. It wasn't real crime 10 years ago. It's not going to, in reality, there's a tax revenue being missed by the states that are stubborn. That's just the facts.
That's the crime right there.
That's just the facts. That part. It could be regulated, removing all the junk, scientifically made to be less harmful and better for you and get you higher or whatever the thing you want. And there could be a tax revenue. Yep. Controlled test, controlled growing, all the above. It would benefit. It would benefit everybody. All the tobacco farmers here, they know how to grow stuff.
Yeah, and that's another conversation itself, and that's why I created the panels and bring in other folks of their expertise to have those conversations, like lawyers, growers, because now when you mention all these other states being legalized, it also changes the narrative of, now cannabis, because now they want to make, these manufacture of weed, like the synthetic weed. And so now it takes away from the actual growers and the plants and stuff for them to continue to, grow and be with the environment.
But also think about the revenue of everybody who lives in a state that's illegal on the border of a state that's legal. They're going to drive 10 minutes.
That was Rhode Island and Massachusetts.
Right. I remember, this is some years ago, but it's a very funny story. My parents, my girlfriend at the time, and we went to Massachusetts for a concert, and we are at a restaurant at the border on the way home because it was like an early afternoon. So now we're doing dinner after the concert. And across the street, there is a line, like 60 people. Wow. And every time we look out the window, it's moving, but never getting shorter. And finally, we asked the server, we were like, hey, what is that across the street? And she laughed and she went, that's the weed store. And we were like, what? She was like, yeah, all those people are probably from New York because they have an hour and 20 minutes till it closes, and they all hopped over the board, and we were just laughing. And I remember my girlfriend at the time was like, I'm not standing in that line. And she went online, and they had like a skip the line, order ahead thing. And she bought some legal weed, and we smoked it on the way home. I was like, it was hysterical.
I got a 2-for-1. Got some good food and was able to go get some good.
It was just like we didn't even really want it. We just wanted to like say we bought legal weed just to be like, this is real.
Yeah,
this is happening. It's like happening. It was like a Whole Foods. It was like walking into a Whole Foods. Beautiful displays, and it's a whole nother. I mean, I lived in California, so and specifically in Santa Cruz, which is like the most California town of California, and there's a dispensary on every corner,
like a 7-Eleven,
like a 7-Eleven, and they are shockingly pretty. Like they really like displays, and everything's in a glass jar with a wood tongue and a dope label, and the packaging is insane, and great marketing. It just blew me away that like just the legitimacy of it. Because like for me, I went from seeing, you know, the illegal weed sale as a college kid.
Right.
You can't not see one. It's not possible. To moving to California, where for shits and giggles, I got a doctor thing, and the doctor, it was the biggest joke ever. I walked into this office, and he didn't ask me why I needed it. He just educated me the difference between indica and sativa.
Yeah.
It took 12 minutes. And his receptionist was like already filling out my thing and making a Xerox of my license. It was just a money grab. He was like, this costs $90.
Yeah.
It lasts for 5 years or something. And I was like, okay.
Dollar bill.
Ridiculous. Yeah. So one more time, Candace, Ellis2020.com.
Yeah. Ellis Strategies.
Oh, sorry. Ellis Strategies 2020.com.
Yep.
What about Facebook and social? Or Facebook and Instagram?
At Ellis Strategies 2020.
At Ellis Strategies 2020. Okay, awesome. And all 3 branches, you could find all the information there?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And as always, the Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere, Spotify. And if you need CRS contracting for anything in the Triangle, or just want to come on the podcast, or want me to talk about something specific, you can call me 845-489-6057, or email me corb, C-O-R-B, at WSDG.com. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Peace out.